Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to react to some more of Discount Science Thor, otherwise known as Kyle Hill. Awesome guy, awesome science communicator. If you haven't seen him, he's amazing. I mean, his channel's great. Check it out. Today we're going to be reacting to the huge problem with ChatGPT, and we're going to assumingly talk about artificial intelligence and the conundrums there. I don't know exactly what he's going to go over here, but my feelings on it are basically it's a little overhyped. Now, that being said, I do want to clarify. That being said, being overhyped does not mean it's not potentially dangerous. It could be very dangerous, especially if the government doesn't step in and safeguard and actually legislate this stuff. What we see with new technologies, because our country, at least here in the US where I live, is regulated and the laws are made by people that are in their 70s and their 80s. And they are way out of touch with where we are with technology today. And they are very reactive for the most part. And that's a problem. It's been a problem with the internet. It's been a problem with computers, with social media, with all sorts of things. It's a problem. AI, in my opinion, can be totally negated as a threat if we get on board on legislating it ahead of time. If we put those fail-safes and those mandated guards in place, it doesn't have to be a problem. Now, granted, we're not going to be 100% safe because, AI is scary, but it would help a lot. And there was a quote somewhere that I had heard. I can't remember who from, so I don't know who to give credit to. But if you know, please comment it down below. That AI, a true AI, there's different classes, but a true non-task focused artificial intelligence with its own learning capacity and its ability to do and learn any task instead of just a specific task will be the last invention that humans make. Every scientific breakthrough from then on is likely to be made by AI. And that's a scary thought. But I guess let's find out some more. I've been blabbering on long enough.
Go, a game about placing and capturing groups of black and white.
He's gone.
Go.
There
A
he
game
is.
about placing and capturing groups of black and white stones is probably the world's oldest board game.
I've never
and for
played that.
thousands of years, humans have been the best at it. That streak ended abruptly in 2016 when a superhuman AI Go bot demolished the world champion. It was seen as a milestone in the kind of AI that you probably keep hearing about today.
That's very similar to the accomplishment by, oh boy, what's his name? Watson, I think, from IBM, where it bested on Jeopardy. It actually won against the reigning champion of Jeopardy. Now, I believe it had more than one attempt. I think the first attempt it failed, if I remember correctly. But shortly after, all the engineers got together and they revised some things and tooled it up a little better and came back and tried again, and it won. And then, of course, games like chess with mathematically solvable rules is a little less impressive, like Go here, because you can mathematically compute what the best moves are. And it's a computer at the end of the day, right? So that's very easy. But things like Jeopardy, in my mind, are even a bigger accomplishment because that's not something that's as easily computed, right? There's a whole behavioral, there's a whole data analytics type of computation in order to get what you think could potentially be the most correct answer out of all the answers available. That's way more impressive than a game of chess or a game of Go.
What you probably didn't hear about was that in the January of 2023, AI researchers allowed a human amateur, like you, to defeat the AI with a win rate of nearly 100%. Humans had retaken the title. But it wasn't cause for celebration. No, it was actually worrying news for all of us whose lives are increasingly suffused with artificial intelligence.
I thought I heard in there, didn't he say the researchers allowed the amateur to beat the computer? Or did I mishear that? Because there's a big difference between allowing them to beat the computer and them legitimately beating the AI.
Here's why.
Now entering the facility.
There are three main categories of artificial intelligence. The first is narrow AI, AI built to do one thing but do it really well, like fold proteins for researchers or tell you the weather. The next step up is general AI, or AGI, a general intelligence that, like you, can learn and solve a wide array of problems from math to art.
Now, from my understanding, before he finishes here, we are very good at developing narrow artificial intelligence programs. That's something that we accelerate at. We can take a problem, and if it is solvable in a realistic and reliable fashion, we can, generally speaking, create an AI that is as good, or most likely better, at solving that problem or completing that task than a human is. A general AI, to the best of my knowledge, is not something that we have perfected yet.
The final form of AI is superintelligence, an information processing entity far beyond the capabilities of any human, in relation to you, like you are in relation to an ant. Today, AI research is about here. A little bit better than narrow, but not quite general. No matter what anyone has told you, no one has general or even sentient AI.
Yeah, no one has that.
So while any of these systems may be superhuman in their abilities, for example, a narrow Go bot able to best the best human, we are still today very far away from sci-fi level AI.
Like so far away, my dude.
Yeah. By the way, how are you doing, Arya?
Just chillin', vibing, doing hot bot stuff.
Word.
I have to say this about Kyle Hill. I absolutely love his sense of humor that he bakes into this, right? Because I've watched a number of these, and he always has the sense of humor that he kind of skirts that line between, you know, this side of it being too informative and too dry, but then the other side of it being too ridiculous and more of an entertainment than an education. You know what I mean? So that line between entertainment and education, he kind of has like that perfect middle ground where he's really giving you quite a bit of information, but he's also keeping it entertaining at the same time. And once you watch one of his videos, I've never come out from one of his videos not feeling, one, entertained, and not having learned something new. And I've watched videos of his on topics that I'm familiar with, so that's saying a lot.
When Google DeepMind's AlphaGo AI beat world champion Lee Sedol 4-1 in 2016, the victory was so decisive that it contributed to Sedol's decision to retire.
Wow.
Artificial intelligence like he had faced was, quote, an entity that cannot be defeated.
It beat him so bad it kicked him out of the game. He got permabanned. He lost so bad. It's true, though. It's absolutely true. An artificial intelligence that has a narrow task, it's never going to be beaten by a human. Not reliably, anyway. Like they said, it was a 4-1, I think. Every once in a while, we're going to best it. But you know, the crazy part is when we do best it, because of machine learning and the way that these things are programmed to learn, you're not going to get away with whatever you did to best it again. It's now learned that. So you're not pulling the same trick twice.
It was no doubt a milestone for narrow AI to beat the world's best player at the world's oldest board game. Today, Go AIs have competitive ELO rankings so much higher than the nearest human that a human facing them would be like a grandmaster playing a literal child. With these AI, the question of synthetic dominance of Go seems settled. So when a paper came out in early 2023 saying that researchers got an amateur Go player to beat one of these superhuman AI, it should have been much more newsworthy than it was.
I saw that title, though. Adversarial, what was it, policies? So it sounds like they're making rules in order to make it harder for the computer.
Which is to say, not at all. Why? In the first few months of 2023, there was an explosion of interest around large language models, specifically ChatGPT. There seemed to be a news story every day about the system helping students cheat on essays, or companies generate ideas, or going rogue in some weird way.
Well, ChatGPT is unique because I don't believe that it's the first program that is as sophisticated as it is in its field, necessarily. It might be. I don't know it well enough to say whether it is or not. But the part that really got such a widespread engagement is this is the one that the media picked up on and ran with. This is the one that they made the stories about and the news hosts talked about and social media picked up on and ran with. So that's why this one is so popular.
This all drowned out the news that happened at the same time of a human finally besting the best AI Go bot named Go. But it shouldn't have been drowned out because the flaw that was discovered that allowed a human to beat this superhuman AI applies to all of today's most widely used AI systems, especially ChatGPT. And this fundamental problem that all but the most concerned scientists are currently ignoring is that we don't actually know how these systems work on the inside.
That's my favorite thing about this. So I studied just a tiny little bit of machine learning and artificial intelligence, and I got to the point of basically making a super simple starter neural network in Python. And I remember as I was taking these courses, the instructor saying, it works this way, but we don't know why. We know if we build it in this way and we play with these variables, that we will get an outcome that's desirable. But we have no idea why. We know that it doesn't simulate the human brain because it's not nearly as complex as the human brain is. But it works. It's kind of like a dollar store version of it. Except we're just guessing randomly. I guess that's kind of what happened with us too, with nature, isn't it? With evolution, it was random guessing until one day, here we are.
Because that's how we design them.
But you know how I work, right?
Of course I know how you work, Arya. It's quantum supercomputing cooled with argan oil. That's the secret. Today's
Argan
video
oil.
is sponsored by Surfshark. I'm award-winning science educator and thick as a brick Ethan Hawke Kyle Hill. I research a lot of weird stuff here day to day at the facility, from the genetic codes of zombie viruses to how to make sand. I need a real shark behind me.
See,
while I
this
surf.
is what
The
I'm
sponsor of
talking
today's
about.
episode,
He is
Surfshark.
going to
Surfshark is a
town
premium virtual private
with
network
this
service
ad,
that
with the
encrypts all of
sponsor.
your
He's
information
really
sent
taking it
between
to
your
heart,
devices
playing
and
it,
internet.
playing
you
the
can
part.
use Surfshark to bypass censorship.
Why don't we go
master
ahead and
IP address, change your device's virtual
skip
location
this.
to access YouTube in night till the end of the year, and 3 extra months free. You're welcome. There's a money-back guarantee, and
Go support
you get a
his channel.
limited
We don't
number
have
of
to watch
devices
the
on
whole
just
ad here.
one account. While you're surfing, protect your turf. Surfshark. So how was the best Go AI bot bested, and why is that important? Go is an ancient game where players take turns placing black and white stones on a board like this with interconnected spots that allow adjacent stones to become so-called groups. The
Okay.
player that has the most occupied area or captured groups of an opponent's stones at the end wins after all the stones are placed. Up until 2023, no human alive was better than the best AI at this. And then researchers from MIT and UC Berkeley made a superhuman AI look like a toddler.
Okay, theory time. Based on the titles that they've been showing, and based on the way he's wording this, my theory is because we are stuck with a narrow AI capability, right? We don't have general AI yet. And that means one important thing. That means the AI is good at one task and one task alone. That's it. That's all you get is the one task, okay? Now, if you change that task, even if it's a slight change, that is detrimental to the AI's understanding of the game because it cannot adapt in a general sense. It has to be very specifically task focused. So my assumption here is that these researchers introduced new rules or made some sort of cyclical rule base for the playing that a human can easily follow because we're very adaptive. That's one of the things we do best. But like I said, AIs can't do that. Let's find out if I'm right.
What the researchers did, which they lay out in a full interactive website, it's awesome, all scientists should try this if they can, is first use computer programs to poke and probe for weaknesses in the CataGo bot.
Okay.
When they found some, they programmed their own adversary bot to start playing millions of games against the best Go AI in the world, using the techniques they identified. Here is one such game. As it progresses, see if you can identify the technique the Blackstone player, the adversary, is using against the Whitestone player, the superhuman AI.
Wait.
Notice anything? Watch again. Look closely. You can see that the adversary is trying to systematically surround the white player, a basic strategy, but in what the researchers describe as a, quote, double sandwich method, a surround of a surround, and so on.
Oh.
When the adversary does this, any good human player would easily see their groups of stones about to be taken and play accordingly, and yet the superhuman AI doesn't seem to care and makes a massive blunder. Chance of winning, 0%. The double sandwich technique was so successful, in fact, that it wasn't just winning, it was making it seem like the superhuman AI didn't actually understand what a group of stones was, a fundamental part of the game. Note here.
Okay, so I was wrong in my theory. But this is actually really good because this highlights one of the key distinctions between AI and actual human intelligence is perception and understanding, right? They touched on that, on the understanding part. But basically, we understand. We know there's more to it than just the parameters that define it, if that makes sense. Maybe if we elaborate on that a little bit more, there's more to something than the mathematical definitions of it, especially in a game. There's a strategy involved, and the strategy is only as good as what it's programmed to be. Now, in an AI program, we don't do all the programming, right? We kind of train it, but that training is, it's a little more complicated than that, but that training is only as good as the source material that it's given. There's no true actual understanding of what's happening. It's just a simple comparison of this is what, as the AI program, this is what it's seen in the past, this is how that's played out, and this is the outcome. Was that outcome desirable or not desirable? And that's all it is just a collection of millions and millions and millions of those scenarios. There's no true understanding there.
Here that the Go adversary bot wasn't playing better Go than the superhuman AI. It was simply taking advantage of a fundamental lack of understanding. That understanding being that groups of stones are groups of stones that need to be protected. However, the ultimate test would be using this exploit that the researchers found to get a human to beat the AI who beat the world champion so bad it ended that man's whole career.
Right? He got permabanned.
Exactly what the researchers did. The amateur, actually one of the researchers, Kellen Pellerin, learned the sandwich technique and then implemented it against CataGo. And out of 15 games, Pellerin won 14 of them, a win rate of 93%. It did, in fact, appear that the milestone-making AI had no real conceptual understanding of the game that it was so dominant at. Trained on hundreds of millions of games, CataGo could recognize and take advantage of just about any move imaginable. But when faced with a strategy designed to test whether or not it truly understood the fundamental concept of groups, it failed almost entirely. The critical takeaway from this is not just that GoBots have hidden flaws. It's that we don't actually know how today's most widely used AI systems work, even the ones we thought were essentially solved. CataGo has the same basic architecture and learning method as all the AI you keep hearing about, from Watson to ChatGPT, and they can do incredible things for sure. They can diagnose rare medical conditions in milliseconds better than any doctor. They can pass the bar exam better and faster than any lawyer.
Scary.
But no one has ever shown that these systems actually understand anything at a fundamental or conceptual level.
They don't understand. I don't think that's an argument. I don't think anyone's arguing that they do understand. I think if anything, we've proven time and time again, especially in the case like this, that they don't understand it. All it is a comparison of outcomes. That's all that it is. It's only as good as the source material that it's trained off of, or it's only as good as it's programmed to be, or the combination of the two. That's it. That's all there is to it. There's no fundamental understanding there. It's not like a human. And that's what makes them better, in a way, is because they can take those millions and millions and millions of different scenarios and different plays, and they can analyze it, and they can see something similar happening, and they can make that decision in milliseconds in order to, predict the next best play. But if you start throwing something at them that maybe they haven't seen in those scenarios, because it's a targeted type of thing, they haven't seen that scenario happen as much, then, it doesn't really know how to react, right? Eventually, I think eventually it would learn. If you played it enough times, it would learn how to come over and overcome that weakness that was shown here. But the problem is, these things take a lot of data. It would take hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of games for it to actually randomly be able to beat that strategy enough to actually pick up a discernible pattern in it that it could actually learn off of. So, it's not something that's going to sit and play 5 games against someone and then suddenly not fall victim to that anymore.
They can write screenplays, but don't know that screens exist. They can play Go, the world's oldest board game, but don't know that boards are where you play that game. They can chat with you like a human, and they don't know what humans are, or that humans are people with thoughts and feelings and ethics, and they don't know the universe exists.
Yep.
This is the fundamental problem. How much of the world are we willing and racing to mold around these inscrutable systems that could have any number of double sandwich type exploits just waiting to happen? Right now, the intelligence these systems mimic is impressive, but now it's just that. Mimicry.
It's just that. Mimicry.
Very funny, Arya. Where was that board, by the way?
What's a board?
Yeah, it does mimic 100%. And that will be a problem, probably even through a general intelligence when we get that far. The general intelligence will be able to adapt a lot more because it's not task-based. It's not task-focused. But in my opinion, it's still going to be more of a mimic of it. I don't think we're actually going to get an evolving intelligence from this. But I could be wrong. One day I think it might happen. But that's probably a long way in the future, and our technology probably has to get a lot more complicated than it is today.
Deep learning systems like ChatGPT are using big data to approximate the world, not develop any understanding of it. And because of that, they can make mistakes that even a calculator wouldn't. They can be abused and have Achilles' heels we won't expect. Right now, the solution to making these systems better is to just give them more data, rather than understand them from the ground up. This isn't systematic and doesn't add any more transparency or conceptual understanding to the AI themselves.
Yep.
For example, despite the enormous training set of text large language models get, AI still hallucinate incorrect information all the time because they don't know what they are saying. One large language model recently said that Elon Musk died in a car crash in 2018, even when nothing in its data said so, and massive amounts of data contradict the claim.
Yep.
This core problem could easily be a thermonuclear bomb of misinformation if these systems are fully integrated into our information ecosystem. You probably thought the Pope had serious drip. Nope. This viral image was made by AI.
Oh, God.
If these systems get slotted into society at large, we won't even know what specifically is going wrong, if and when it does.
It's true.
Large language models are going to give people bad medical advice on Google. Combined with deepfakes, bad actors are going to create an exponentially expanding arsenal of propaganda and misinformation for almost no cost on social media.
Oh, God, I remember that when the whole pictures of Donald Trump being arrested came out. And, of course, they're fake. They're not real. but they were AI generated, and they look pretty realistic because, I mean, AI generated. And so many people believed it. So many people went along with it, and it was sad and ridiculous. But it also brings up a very good point, because we're getting to a point right now where society as a whole, and granted, I want to be very clear, there's a lot of exceptions to this, but society as a whole has problems with information and the integrity of the information that they base their opinions and their lives on. We saw that really come to the forefront in the last, 5-6 years or so. Lined up perfectly with Mr. Trump's coming into office and the coronavirus that kind of came after that. And people really kind of showed their true selves and how they find data and what they trust and who the people are that do the fact checking and do the research and where they do the research. And there's a huge difference when you're doing research of trying to confirm your beliefs or trying to prove yourselves wrong. And a lot of people just like to try to confirm their beliefs, which is not researching. When you're researching, you should be doing everything you can to try to prove your belief wrong, not confirm it. But anyway, this brings up a very, very valid point, because with the way society is today, add in the additional complexities of deepfakes, of artificial intelligence realistically faking a bunch of things. You got voice, you got pictures, you got video to an extent. I've seen some deep-faked videos of Obama that I think MIT made, and it's ridiculous. And now it's going to become even harder to tell truth from fiction. And we already have a problem with that when it was extremely easy to tell the difference. So that's scary. That's very scary.
The fabric of democratic society is going to tear when it gets to the point where no one knows whether or not anything is real. Top AI researchers voice these concerns all the time, but it doesn't seem like anyone is listening. Oh, Kyle's back. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
It's good to hear Arya
There
talk
it is.
more.
At this instant, big tech companies all over the world are essentially experimenting on hundreds of millions of people without proper consent, using systems they don't fully understand because they can't fully understand them. If it wasn't clear by now, this is the huge problem with the explosion of interest around these systems. We've been far too hasty in ascribing superhuman abilities to these machines, as one of the researchers put it, and this is going to inevitably lead to unforeseen consequences, be they social, political, economic, or ethical. Perhaps it is time to step back. Perhaps it is time to stop rushing headfirst into AI that are essentially alien to us.
Very true.
ChatGPT
Very good point.
is the single fastest growing consumer application in human history, and we don't fully know how it works. If AI really is the future, is this how we want to get there? Until next time.
Couldn't you just show them my neural networks?
Well, yeah, but what have humans done for me lately? Nothing.
Now exiting the facility.
Always a great job from Kyle Hill. He's amazing. I love his videos. The effort that they put into these, and his passion for it, just, it's amazing. I really love him. Support him if you can. Really worth it. I don't want to say he's an up-and-comer, because he's already there, but he's really, I feel, going to continue to grow and evolve to be a big voice in the science educator community. He already is, but I think he's going to grow to be even bigger. So anyway, what a great video. My thoughts on AI are, I do think it's a little overhyped. I don't think that we have a huge worry at the moment, but I think that as we continue to grow and evolve, we could potentially end up having some really big issues to worry about. And I feel like we're kind of getting really close to the edge, the point of no return. So I think it's super critical that governments start regulating this stuff. As much as I am usually in favor for very limited government regulation, I think that this is one of those instances that could potentially shape the future of humanity. So yes, I think that it needs government oversight. And I think that we need to get on it now rather than waiting until after everything goes to crap. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.